Someone said I should do a video on advice to converts. Someone suggested in the last video I did about my conversion. So I decided I would do a YouTube video on advice to converts. So they thought I could give really good advice to converts. So I guess I'll try to do a YouTube video on that. I don't want to make it too long, but I guess I'll just give some basic advice. I guess I want to start with the conversion process. First of all, I want to say, don't think that you're going to have an easy road. Um, First of all, converts, I mean, some of them tell me, that they've never been scrutinized and that they're very well accepted in their communities and nobody gives them a hard time. I don't know where they live. They probably definitely don't live in Brooklyn, New York. But the bottom line is there's a lot of gatekeeping in the Jewish community. And there's probably going to be like tons of people that don't accept your conversion, no matter what conversion you don't have. And there's going to be tons of people who are nasty to you. If you're online, they're going to have tons of online trolls. And, especially, I mean, I feel like if you convert younger and you don't have like children already, dating is sometimes easier. But if you convert older, dating is definitely hard. If you're a person of color and you convert, dating is extremely hard. I think no matter what age you are. Um, I think if you're a person of color and you convert, period, it's harder. So I think, because, people sometimes don't question people as much when they're white about their conversion. When someone sees a person of color, they automatically assume they're a convert. So, you get even more questions about are you Jewish when you're a person of color and you walk in a synagogue. But even with white converts, there's a lot of gatekeeping, a lot of asking, are you Jewish anyways, if you're a new person in a synagogue. So, anyways, the point is that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Don't think that dating is going to be easy. Don't think that, I mean, you might get lucky. You might get a shidduch right away, especially if you're young. You might luck out. You might be in a community that's very welcoming, but chances are you won't. Chances are it's going to be harder. You're not going to have the same privileges of a born Jew to ebb and flow in your Judaism, to go through rough times and go through easy times. You're going to be expected to be, close to perfection all the time, especially if you're an Orthodox conversion. If you end up going, uh, a little bit lacking in your observance, and everybody's like, "Oh, she's not Jewish," So it's a whole shtick, Converts are held to a higher standard, So it's a whole thing with being a convert, You don't get the same privileges as a born Jew, So don't think it's going to be easy. You shouldn't convert because of the Jewish people, because the Jewish people are faulty like everybody else. There's good and there's bad. You should convert because you love Judaism and you believe in the religion. Because the people are going to disappoint you eventually. I mean, there's wonderful Jewish people in the world, but you should convert because you love Judaism and you want to be Jewish. You shouldn't convert for the people because eventually your community is going to disappoint you. I mean, you're going to probably always love them, but there's going to be disappointments, and maybe you won't get along with some of them. So, you should convert because you really, really believe, not because you have Jewish friends or whatever. You feel like it's, you fit in with the crowd, whatever. You should convert because you really believe, because friends come and go, but, belief and faith, hopefully that'll stay. So the thing is, I feel like, what was I going to say? I feel like, I converted and it's been tough. I have a really, really great community. There's some really, really great people in my community. There's some really awful people in my community. And I don't think I realized how hard it would be for dating. But you know what? I've kind of accepted the fact that I might be single for a very long time or maybe forever. But you know what? That's one of the breaks of converting when you're older. And it is what it is, if I want to be with a Jewish man, then I I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do at this point, because being a convert and being 45 and already having children is a pretty bad situation. So be wary of that if you're going to convert and you're going to be Orthodox and you're going to look for a Jewish person. It might make you be single for a very long time. So that's something to think about. But I love Judaism and I love being in the community and I'm involved in a lot of things. So it's something that I've just dealt with, you know. Um, it's hard, and also some of the scrutiny from the community is very hard. You know, it's hard to not be treated like everybody else and to have people, you know, talk about you and not treat you like other people. You know, and for you to not be able to, like, how do I say this, have the same struggles as maybe a born Jew has and be looked at the same. You know, even though, like, in my case, my father's Jewish, so I always had a Jewish identity, but I feel like I can't go through the same kind of like struggles as somebody else who's born Jewish and be looked at the same way. And it's very frustrating to me because it's very frustrating to me, you know, because I'm human like everybody else, you know, and I don't know, it's very frustrating to me. So just be aware of the fact that as a convert, even though halakhically you're supposed to have the same status, the way that the Jewish religion is and the way that the Jewish people are is two different things. And you're going to have your share of naysayers and your share of people. And I'm talking to Orthodox converts here who treat you like you are at a different standard than someone who's born Jewish and who look at you different and hold you to a different standard. Of course, born Jews are supposed to do all these things and everything, and they hold them up to a certain standard too, but they treat them differently when they fall, you know? Um, Also, it's different if you're in a reform or conservative community because they don't hold by the same standards. I feel like they're much more welcoming of converts. But I always believe that you should convert whatever halakhic standards you hold by. Like if you want to be a reform Jew, convert reform. If you want to be a conservative Jew, convert conservative. If you want to be an Orthodox Jew, convert Orthodox. I know you're not converting to Orthodox Judaism per se, but the thing is, if you're not gonna, you know, necessarily like keep everything like 100%, not I don't like the word 100%, but if you're not gonna keep things the Orthodox way, of course they're not gonna let you do an Orthodox conversion anyway. But it's better that you convert like with the Reform movement, and then you can, you know, align yourself with the Reform with like a Reform synagogue and everything else. Of course, your conversion won't be accepted as people, but they're not going to let you do an Orthodox conversion anyway. So it's a moot point, you know. But there's plenty of people who do Reform and conservative conversions and live in Reform and conservative communities, never ever mingle with the Orthodox, and they're fine. They live happy and dandy lives, and you know they could not give two shits about the Orthodox, and it just has no effect on their life whatsoever. People say, oh, it matters so much if you have a conversion accepted by the Orthodox. Their Orthodox people have no effect on them. You know, they don't travel to Israel. Or if they do, it's just on a vacation, but they don't live there. And, you know, they live in their own little conservative synagogue community or their own Reform synagogue community. And they live within that little ecosystem, and it doesn't matter to them what other people say. So people can live like that and they don't have to do with the Orthodox, and that's fine with them. So, you know, if it works for you, it works for you, you know? It's almost like people who are only Jewish online and they never mingle with the Jewish community and they have a fine Jewish thing online and that's all they do. That's what makes them happy. I guess that's what makes them happy. Personally, I think the people who are just Jewish online are just spinning their wheels, but whatever. But anyways, okay, so let me get back to the conversion process. I think that's what I said I was going to talk about first. Number one thing, find a rabbi who's good to you when you go to convert. Don't find one that'll charge you a lot of money. Find one that believes in you. Find one like that is with the movement you agree with. I mean, just find a legit rabbi. I feel like so many people get hooked up. I find people finding rabbis on the internet, finding rabbis through Facebook. Rabbis who do legit conversions are not soliciting people through Facebook. It's not working that way. I find these rabbis soliciting people through Facebook. It's not legit. They're soliciting you through Facebook. They're not doing. It's not legit. I'm sorry. Okay. If they're a legit rabbi, they're not proselytizing to people through Facebook. So find a legit rabbi. Find one that's not charging an arm and a leg, because then it's a scam. And find one that you can trust. And find one that will look at you like with open and honest, open-minded, good eyes, one that's not going to judge you, because everybody's got a past, got skeletons in their closet, whatever, whether they're Jewish, non-Jewish. They don't want a rabbi who's going to first thing he learns about you that you made a mistake, got tattoos, whatever, your family's got some kind of like ugly thing about them. They're going to be like, okay, this is not going to work, Like I remember I once met this conservative rabbi and she's like, oh, you've been too many religions and I don't want nothing to do with you. That was like my skeleton, So like, you don't want a rabbi that's going to just judge you for whatever, stuff you got going on in the past. So, I mean, whatever. So, okay. So, okay. And then also another thing is, once you start converting, I also think it's important to have a rabbi that understands you. Like the rabbi, my first sponsoring rabbi, because I did 2 conversions, understood that reading was not my strength. I know some rabbis have these long reading lists. Every rabbi's got a shtick. Some rabbis have very, very long reading lists. If the rabbis that I converted with had extremely long reading lists, I would have never finished my conversion. Because no, I can't read 30 books. It's not going to work for me. Some people just can't do that. So everybody's got their strengths and their weaknesses. Connect with a rabbi who knows your strengths and knows your weaknesses and will utilize your strengths and work with your strengths and be like, okay, that's her weakness or his weakness, and that's okay. Okay. I also know rabbis who make converts write 10,000 word essays. Some converts can't write 10,000 word essays. We're not all good at writing essays. Okay. Another thing is when you're learning Hebrew, I 100% recommend. This is, I don't know if I'm holding it right. I'm holding it upside down. Am I holding it right? I don't know if you guys can see this. This is it's upside down. Okay. This is is it upside down? Now it's upside down. Okay, now it's right. Now it's right. This is the Hebrew crash course through NJOB, through the National Jewish Outreach Program. Take this class. It's offered all over the United States, and it's free. And you can take it as many times as you want. And it's a great way to meet synagogue communities. Take it. It's only a 5-part course. It will help you learn Hebrew. It's free. It's really, really great. I highly recommend it for any convert who's trying to learn Hebrew, because almost every conversion you go through, they're going to make you learn Hebrew. So take this course. It's very, 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 very good. It's very, very, very good. I also recommend that you are able to afford living Jewish. I don't like converts that start GoFundMes or whatever to pay for their expenses. Learn how to budget and be Jewish on a budget. You can do it in an inexpensive, I don't like the word cheap, and thrifty way. You can do it without depending on other people. Don't become a burden to your community, and don't become dependent on other people. You don't have to have the nicest things. I mean, you don't have to not eat meat. Some people say you don't eat meat. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you don't, people say you have to have a great job or something. Heard someone say you have to be financially great to convert. No, you don't have to have the best job, but I'm just saying you should be okay and do it. You can be even lower class, but you can do it on a budget. You can do it. You can find ways to budget and find ways to do it I should literally do a video on like how to live Jewish like on a budget. Like it's very, very easy. You can really do it like low budget. There's ways. I know it's harder for men because men have to buy more stuff, but as a woman, you can really do Judaism cheaply. I think the food is the most expensive cost because the food is outrageously expensive. But besides kosher food, you can really do Judaism cheaply if you really make an effort at it. You don't like go crazy on like stuff that you really don't need. Okay. Besides, like sometimes when the rabbis try to make you buy every book under the sun, it's not needed. There's a lot of Jewish libraries as well that you can go and you can go check out books. If you live near a Jewish library, sometimes public libraries have Jewish books. There's resources you can use. You can also buy books on Amazon. Sometimes they're cheaper. But I mean, you can do things reasonably and on a budget. Okay, but make sure you're not a burden, and make sure you don't start like trying to you should be able to like you should like know that you can afford this and that you can do this on your own. Okay, and also I think it's important that you also don't like try to shove your past in the past. Like embrace your past. Like I find a lot of converts are like, now that I'm Jewish, my past, I'm never going to talk about it again. I'm just going to like forget that I was ever a non-Jew. I think that's the wrong approach. I think that you should embrace your past, learn from it, and like I don't think you should hide it. I once read this story about a Japanese convert that became a famous Japanese kosher chef. That's not the best example, but basically she took her culture and she made it part of Judaism and like made it like a beautiful thing. Like she made it enrich Jewish culture. You can take part of your like non-Jewish self and make it like enrich your Jewish life. Like I eat kosher food now, right? But I was married to a Pakistani, and now I make like kosher chana masala, and I make like kosher aloo palak, and I make like kosher chicken curry. So I didn't like forget my past. I didn't stop cooking the food I love, like, and I eat Ashkenazi food too. But like, I didn't like totally like push aside my past. I still eat South Asian food. So and I served a Shabbos meal and I made like a Yemeni like chicken dish that I knew from my Muslim years and everybody loved it. I made like a lamb dish one time and I made a chicken dish. I used the same spices that I used to. So like you don't have to like throw away your past and like you can embrace it and make it part of you and like you know you can make it enrich like your current life. Don't take the bad stuff from it, but take the good stuff from it. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's part of who you are. You shouldn't be ashamed of it or hide it. What else? And also, I feel very strongly that you should spend time with your non-Jewish relatives. You shouldn't like avoid. You have to talk to Rabbanim about this, but there's ways to spend time with them on the holidays. I know a lot of converts struggle with this, like spending time with their non-Jewish relatives on the holidays. There's ways around this. You don't have to ignore your relatives on the holidays. You can bring your own kosher food. You can still open up presents on Christmas without, saying that you believe in Christ and everything. You can still do Christmas with them without doing Christmas. I mean, there's ways that you can do it. I mean, I think family is important and you can't just like desert your family if that's the only time your family gets together because you're Jewish, or you're becoming Jewish. And I think that, you know, um, this idea that people have to choose between Judaism and their family is totally wrong. I think that you can totally, completely embrace your family and be your non-Jewish family and embrace Judaism at the same time. Even if you're the firmest of the firm. I know Jewish rabbis who are converts who spend Christmas with their families, their non-Jewish family. So, I mean, 100%, 100%. I also don't think that if you were anti-racist, anti-Islamophobia, and anti-homophobia before you became an Orthodox convert, that means that you should become a bigot once you become an Orthodox convert because the Orthodox world is very much bigoted in many circles. Don't become an asshole just because you convert to Judaism. I'm sorry. I know a lot of Jews are like very much like have these views, but don't become that. Like, don't join the Jewish circles and all of a sudden become a bigoted person. Don't become that. Like, if you were like a really, really like love humanity person before, continue that and bring that to the Jewish community. Don't think you have to become bigoted to fit in. You know what I'm saying? And if you end up in a community where all the synagogues are like that, and you don't have a choice because like I'm in a community like that, all the synagogues are like that, and so I don't have a choice but like go to a synagogue where people hold those kind of views. But at the same time, like I don't have to agree with them. And when I'm outside of synagogue, I go to activities where people aren't like that. But when I'm at synagogue, it is what it is. At least they don't preach. They don't preach their views at synagogue, but I know that they hold a lot of those views, and some people talk like that. But the thing is, like, we can't always go to a synagogue where they're having pulpit speeches about the kind of politics we agree with. So the thing is that I don't think that that really matters. I think what matters is the fact that we in ourselves keep our views and our thoughts straight, and that when we're having conversations with our friends and our neighbors, that we say the right things and that we don't feed into the negativity. That doesn't mean that we have to argue with everybody at the Shabbos table and like be like, you're wrong, you're a racist. But that does mean that we don't have to feed into it and add to the conversation. And that does mean that maybe when we're one-on-one with someone, we have to maybe have that hard conversation with them. Because I think as converts, being in the secular world, when we do switch to the Orthodox world, we're going to find that we're going to bump into a lot of people that have maybe views that maybe offend us. And I'm talking to Orthodox converts here. Because the Reform and the conservative world don't have as many offensive views as the Orthodox world. I think you're going to find that. You're going to find that people might horrify you with their views, but it doesn't mean argue with them at every single Shabbos table, because it's not going to work well for you. It's not going to work well for you. So, and it's not the right time to fight over a Shabbos table. But maybe when you're one-on-one with someone, maybe then you can express. And it's much better when you share a personal story or a personal experience than when you try to argue facts, because they don't listen to those facts. They just don't believe they're facts. It's much better when you say a personal experience of yourself, because when they listen to personal experiences, they're more receptive. I can tell you that from experience. Like, for example, when I deal with Islamophobia, often when I start talking about statistics or whatever, nobody listens. When I tell them a story about someone I know, a Muslim I know, because they usually don't know any Muslims, then it starts like listening to them in their head, like then they start listening because it's a personal experience. It's like, well, the Muslim I know, or my Muslim children, my children are Muslim, or it's like it's a personal experience. They connect with that. It's an actual real person. I don't know. That's just my advice when dealing with these tough conversations. Sometimes you have to have with people, because you're coming from a different world than these from birth people. These from birth people are very, very much sometimes isolated. Sometimes don't have any friends like the friends that you've had. It's like totally different world. They don't know about Christians and Muslims, and sometimes they've never had a black person over their house except the cleaning lady. They don't know about any of this kind of stuff. So sometimes it's very, very hard for them to understand. They don't, I mean, I'm not making an excuse for their views, but they just like a whole different world to them. It's no excuse, but they're clueless. It's like it's like talking about Mars to them. They don't understand. That's how insular they are. So I'm going to end this video because I'm just rambling. But if you have any questions, please say it in the comments, because there's probably a lot of stuff I didn't cover. But basically, like I said, don't think it'll be easy. It'll be very, very hard if you're entering the Orthodox world. It'll be very, very hard. But it'll be 100% worth it. Being a convert, being a Jew is amazing. You're going to be part of an amazing community. Not all the people will be good, but a lot of people will be amazing. You're going to have amazing opportunities. You're going to be part of an amazing religion. But the thing is, it's not going to all be like a bowl of cherries. It's going to be tough sometimes. It's going to be hard. Sometimes you're going to be like, why did I join this stupid religion, these stupid people? But at the same time, at the end of the day, you're going to be glad you did it. So, you know, everything's got its ups and downs. But just remember the process itself, I think, is totally unfair and totally too long. And I think a lot of these rabbis, they don't realize like how hard it is for us to put our lives on hold for years on end. But try your best to get through it, like if you can. Like I know maybe some of you guys are in the process and you're thinking, when is this going to end? But if you're entering the process, my advice to you is ask the rabbi for some kind of timetable. Like, how long is this going to take? If I'm doing what I need to do, how long is this going to take? If they tell you something like 10 years, get rid of them. If they tell you something like 1 or 2 years, stay with them. If they tell you something like 5 years, get rid of them. Like, it's got to be reasonable. It's not reasonable to ask a convert to put their life on hold for 5, 10 years. You got to be reasonable. Like, sorry, rabbis aren't asking reasonable things. Like, it's great to be Jewish, but like, come on, folks. You know? Like, people are like, well, if you want to be Jewish so much, wouldn't you give up 5, 10 years of your life? Like, oh, so you're saying I don't want to be Jewish bad enough? That's why I wouldn't give up 5, 10 years? It's not fair to ask somebody that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, some people are born Jewish by no fault of their own. It was their mom that made them Jewish. Like, and I don't know. It's ridiculous. Like, the kind of things that people say to people, converts, like, I don't know. And on that note, I'm just saying, like, rabbis have got to be reasonable with people. Really, really reasonable. It's one thing if people are not doing what they need to do. If someone's doing what they need to do, 1 to 2 years, I think is a reasonable amount of time. So I would say get a timeline from the rabbi, especially if you're going to classes, because classes can add up money-wise. Anyways, have a great night, everybody. And you can always, follow me on Instagram because I've been doing Instagram about Jewish life, trying to like do like stuff about how I'm daily living. It's good to follow people on Facebook and Instagram who are not like really big influencers who are like showing the perfect Jewish life, their perfect pictures, their perfect wives and their perfect husbands. That's not real. That's not like reality. Like follow people who are doing like every day-to-day things. That's how you learn. So on my Instagram, it's like every day-to-day things. It's like real life. So you can always follow me on Instagram or follow me on Facebook. You need to learn from people who are doing every day-to-day, day in, day out, everyday Judaism. Not people who are like living lives that you're never going to live, or they are living life that you might live, but they're not showing that life. They're showing you something that is not even tangible, like something that isn't even real. So that's who you need to follow on social media if you're converting. Okay. Good night, everybody.